Today, America's national debt is over $34 trillion. But how did the richest nation on earth fall so deep into debt? The story begins with wars, promises, and a lifestyle built on borrowing. Before diving into history, let's understand how debt works. The U.S. collects money through taxes, including income tax, corporate tax, etc. But when spending on things like military, healthcare, or infrastructure is greater than taxes collected, there's a budget deficit. To cover that gap, the U.S. Treasury creates bonds, which are basically promises to pay back money later with interest. Banks, foreign governments, and individuals buy these bonds. Each year, if the government keeps running deficits, it issues more bonds. Because the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency, there's huge global demand for U.S. bonds. During World War II, the U.S. borrowed heavily to finance tanks, planes, and soldiers. Debt soared, but after the war, America's booming economy helped bring the debt-to-GDP ratio down. The debt rose from $43 billion to $258 billion from 1940 to 1945. In the 1960s and 70s, spending rose again. President Richard Nixon went on TV and announced the U.S. would stop exchanging dollars for gold.
The Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
It was meant to be temporary, but it became permanent. The U.S. fought expensive wars in Korea and Vietnam while also expanding Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. America was building both its military power and a safety net on borrowed money. The debt rose from $286 billion to $908 billion from 1960s to 1980s. During Ronald Reagan's time, USA saw massive tax cuts, a military buildup, and deregulation. While the economy grew, so did the deficit. For the first time in decades, trillion-dollar debt became the new normal. In 10 years, the debt grew from $1 trillion to $2.8 trillion. After 9/11, the U.S. launched wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, costing trillions. Then came the 2008 financial crisis, when Washington bailed out banks and spent big to rescue the economy. Debt levels exploded from $5.6 trillion to $10 trillion. In 2017, the U.S. passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, slashing corporate tax rates. This reduced tax revenue while military and social spending kept rising. By 2019, debt had reached $22.7 trillion. The economy was growing, unemployment was low, but the government still ran large annual deficits of $700 to $900 billion. Economists warned, if debt is this high in good times, what happens in bad times? When the pandemic hit, the government spent trillions on stimulus checks to households, Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, for small businesses, enhanced unemployment benefits, bailouts for airlines and other industries. Debt jumped from $22.7 trillion in 2019 to $27.7 trillion by the end of 2020, the fastest increase in U.S. history. Can the U.S. escape its debt trap? Comment and let us know.